it's always been about the brand, and it's been about getting the right people in the room. And so it's not as much as a priority to them anymore, because whatever they do, people are going to show up anyway. Now that's going to change.
Yeah.
They're not going to show up anyway anymore because they want to get something out of it, especially if they're taking time and for traveling. That's a big ask. So you better show up and deliver. The bar is really high. Like if you get me to go out and like spend $1,500 to come to your event, and like you're not delivering the top content experience, the best speakers in the room, and the most amazing relevant connections that I can find, I'm not going to bother. I'm going to go somewhere else where I know I can get that.
Welcome to Events Demystified podcast, where we explore and demystify the world of in-person, virtual, hybrid event AV production and technology by sharing insightful tips, tricks and tactics to make your events a success. This podcast is brought to you by Tree Fan Events, a woman-owned boutique event production agency. And your host is 𝐂𝐚𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿, a technical event planner and producer with almost 2 decades of hands-on technical experience in event production.
Welcome, friends, to a brand new episode after the break of the Events Demystified podcast, your one-stop shop for tangible, technical, and planning advice for anyone in the events industry. This podcast is sponsored by Tree Fan Events, a woman-owned and operated boutique event production agency that provides the planning, strategy, the production technology, and the technical expertise to host any virtual, hybrid, or metaverse event. And I am your host, 𝐂𝐚𝐻𝐿𝐻 Tree Fan. Also, welcome to a brand new season 7, which is going to be a dive headfirst into the captivating world of artificial intelligence. As you can see on the branding of the season, it's all about AI, and it is my goal to be exploring this powerful technology with a lot of my guests, which are already lined up. And I'm not going to say who they are, but there are some amazing guests that I can't wait to reveal. And you will get to know them one by one if you stay tuned and obviously subscribe to our podcast on all the channels. Our plan is to look at this powerful technology that is not just revolutionizing the way we plan and manage and produce events, but also dramatically altering the attendee experience. The fusion of technology and human ingenuity is creating some amazing, immersive, personalized, and truly unforgettable experiences for our attendees. From AI-powered recommendations and interactions to real-life responses and beyond, the AI revolution is here, and it's transforming the future of events. With the ever-evolving landscape of technology, AI has emerged in the last few months, and I mean last maybe 9 months now, as a game changer in the event industry. And who better to guide us through the first episode of what AI looks like for our events and AI trends, but today's featured guest, Julius Solaris himself. So buckle up for today's conversation with our extraordinary guest joining us, Julius Solaris, the founder of Bold Push, all about espresso and events, a trailblazing consulting firm specializing in the event industry. Julius' expertise is nothing short of remarkable. He successfully exited not one, but 2 businesses in the event industry, and he has collaborated with some of the fastest growing tech companies. Throughout our conversation today, we'll unravel the crucial role of events in this AI landscape. Events are no longer just gatherings. They're evolving into some powerful platforms where AI plays an integral role in exchanging the attendee experience and also optimizing the event process. From event tech to AI tools that truly matter, we'll explore the cutting-edge innovations that are reshaping the event industry as we speak. With Julius's wealth of experience in both events and technology, we'll get some unique insights into the most impactful AI tools and technologies that event planners like you and organizers like you need to keep their eye on. But that's not all. We'll also discuss how AI is revolutionizing the in-person events. Despite the rise of virtual experiences, in-person events will remain essential for fostering that genuine connection and build the relationship that we're all looking for. Discover how AI is transforming the landscape of in-person events and making them even more engaging and unforgettable by staying tuned to this episode. And what about the bottom line, right? We'll also delve into the practical side of AI, exploring how businesses and event organizers can leverage AI to save both money and time. Automation and intelligent decision making are at the core of AI's potential benefits, and Julius will share invaluable insights on optimizing event budget and operations using AI-powered solutions. So whether you're a event professional that is just looking to stay ahead of the curve, or maybe someone that's curious about the fascinating intersection between AI and events, this episode is a must listen. Join me as I sit down with Julius to demystify the world of AI in the event industry, uncovering the trends, the tools, and strategies that can transform your events into unparalleled experiences. Friends, stay tuned as we're diving deep into the world of AI and its impact on the event industry with the one and only, the brilliant Julius Solaris, founder of Bold Push. So buckle up for an exciting ride full of insights and inspiration. Well, hello, Julius. Thank you so much for joining us on the Events Demystified podcast. We are so thrilled to have you here to share your expertise and insights with our audience today.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. I definitely look better than the last time. I was just seeing it in the opening frame. I saw myself. I was like, whoa.
You were like, oh, wait a second. When was that? Well, talking about that, because Julius, you're so well known to our audience and the event industry. And also because, like you mentioned, we've already covered a bit of your genesis in the event industry back in, I don't know, episode, I feel like 39. I mean, that sounds like a lot of episodes ago. And I'll have the link in the episode notes for anyone that's curious.
And congrats on the many episodes you did after that. Congrats.
I know. I think we're over 100 and something at this point. I lost count myself. But now that we are doing this brand new episode together with a new season, a new topic, what I would love to know about is more like what you've been up to since we talked last. And I mean, you have a new project, a new company. You've gone through a few since then. And if you would care to maybe give us just a bit of a overview of what happened in the most recent months, how did Bold Push come about, and what is the main problem that it solves?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, don't you feel like a lot of us have changed so many jobs and so many things in the past 2-3 years? So I don't feel that sort of abnormal compared to, what I'm seeing all around us. I mean, everybody's like jumping from one job to the other and reinventing their careers. And I was part of that as well, which has been an interesting process. Yeah, I started my own consulting media firm. We do two things. One is consulting with event tech companies, event agencies, and corporate event planners, mostly in the tech industry, for their user conferences and event programs on their event strategy, go-to-market, and content implementation. So very niche agency for the events industry. Been growing super fast. We're in hyper-growth mode. So the past 4 months have been just crazy, out of control type of hyper-growth mode. And then we do some media as usual. We're doing a series of events. We're doing one a month. We're at episode number 2 now. We did one with Billy McFarland, which was something. And we did one on AI last week, Jeremiah 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐩𝐭𝐞𝐫𝐬. So yeah, I'm keeping my feet in both hands. So consulting and the content creation. You'll find me on LinkedIn as usual. That's my go-to network where I share most of my insights and whatever I learn about the events industry.
That's fantastic. Actually, talking about AI, I was in Canada when you had that episode and I was registered and ready to go and then never made it because I ran out of my data and it was a pain just navigating.
No.
When you're out of data, let's just say not fun and you're in a different country. But talking about AI, let's kick our AI conversation with a bang because I mean, we all have experienced how in the last, I don't know, it's been like 9 months now, I guess, then AI, its impact on events has become so undoubtedly profound. And I'm sure that our listeners are more than eager to hear what you have to say about the specific topic and the applications and the benefits of AI for events. And as someone who has not exited one, but two successful exits in the event industry, I am curious, what is your take on the current key trends in AI and how is it shaping the future of the event industry as you see it?
Yeah, for sure. So first off, I'm not an AI expert by all means, but I've been following trends and technology in the industry for 15 years now. And so in my previous endeavor at Eventful, we were doing a lot of analysis on whatever trend may come about. And so my role has been always to kind of decode these new trends, especially mostly tech-based. We looked at event apps, engagement, online registration, all these waves of innovation that we've seen in the industry. And now it's AI. To be honest, it's something that I put on a graph in 2018. So that was coming. So it finally did in the way we were imagining it a little bit in that disruptive force. I must say, I've been in this industry for a while on the media front for a long time. I've done hundreds of events, hundreds of publications and reports. I've rarely seen the interest that I'm seeing today on this topic. Like if you think about the event we did last month, we had 750 people registered. This is like out of control. My list is 1,000 people. This is like 20% conversion rate. You don't see that. That doesn't happen, right?
Yeah,
So,
talk about something else and people are like, eh.
I mean, like, I used to pull those numbers with dozens of thousands of people in my list. So, that's to say that the interest is like abnormal. So that's not normal. This level of whenever you talk about AI, and it's across the board, I'm seeing whenever, an association publishes a course on it, everybody jumps on it. So there's a lot of interest from event planners. And that's the first reason why we should care. So this movement in mass from the events industry is like the first reason why this matters, because event planners, the event industry people, they're not to jump on bandwagons so fast. There's maybe, just to give an example, there's the other big trend, which is threads and like what is happening with the new social network. Yeah, there's some level of interest there, but that's normal. Like there's no crazy numbers. I published some articles about it, some okay engagement, but there's nothing crazy. So AI is completely different. Why? Because, it makes things simple for a lot of event planners. It's substituting a lot of like repetitive tasks that used to be outsourced to someone, sometimes with lower level polls in terms of who does that. And they see the output that it's good enough for them to work on. And to be honest, it's not so different from what they used to get with people working on it. This is like the defining sort of aspect, that the output, it's somewhat good enough for a lot of people. I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing. There's no judgment from me, but it opens up a lot of conversations about, the way we shape our marketing in events, we shape our content at events, because like the most practical applications that I've seen across the board are session ideation, marketing collaterals. And so my question to the industry here, I'm a little bit of a pain in the neck of the events industry. That's how people define me, and they don't use neck. Usually
they use something else.
So, I have to ask that, like, if it's so easy to replace these activities with common ChatGPT, we're not even talking ChatGPT 4, talking like at previous levels. I'm questioning like how much input did we put on the marketing and the product before, if we can replace it so fast. So there's a lot of conversation going around that. But like the time component, time saving component, it's a big one in events. Whenever you're able to save time time or money, you're going to have success. I always told all the clients, event tech companies, help event planners to save money or to make money, and you're not going to get rid of them. They're going to stay with you forever. So AI is extremely effective in that.
That is fascinating stuff, to be honest. It has helped me tremendously on productivity at that level and I feel like a lot of event planners can relate to that, because not a lot of event planners that I know are multi-people teams, right? They're a smaller team, or they're maybe one person for one corporate account, and they do a lot of things and they wear a lot of hats. So saving, like you said, some time by using those AI tools to create a different level of productivity, it's a tremendous advance, if you ask me. Now, also, there's the thing with having someone trained to do a certain task, right? Like I've gone through multiple staff people myself where I had processes and I trained them on certain things, but then it was still such a pain to get the output that you just talked about to match my desired output of what I wanted that content, blog piece, whatever it was to sound like or be like. So having the ability to do it in a way that actually matches my voice, my tone, my knowledge, my expertise, it's helpful indeed. I'm obviously going to stop here because there's more to be said about how a lot of content that's out there is not yet necessarily foolproof, is not necessarily accurate. So you have to use your obviously wisdom to figure out, is this going to work or not? But just keeping it within what our scope of our conversation and going maybe from trends to substance, because it is a talk of substance. The role of events and the role of AI in events obviously cannot be ignored. So when it comes to our gatherings and when it comes to how our attendees are experiencing some of the changes that have happened in our industry, how do you see events becoming more than just the gatherings that we're used to? And how do you feel like they might be evolving into AI powered platforms for not just the organizers, but also for the attendees?
That's interesting. I feel events are very antithetic to AI in general. They're probably the answer to what AI is going to cause, especially at a marketing level. So from my practice, through my consulting, I get to work with a lot of technology teams from large tech companies that do events, and they do regular marketing. And what is happening in their audience is that people are sort of even downloading a white paper today doesn't make any sense. Like, when I can go to ChatGPT and like literally ask for like all the latest information, or, find that quality output that I would get by reading 50-page PDF that I used to do as a media operator myself. And so the response to your question is very intriguing, because my feeling is that events will kind of be the answer when we're going to grow this illusion, because we're in month 9. So think in year 9, at the speed at where we're going. Where is like online marketing going? Can we trust what we read on a company's blog? Because that used to be sort of the voice of an individual that then became an SEO sort of driven type of content. Now it's what? A ChatGPT sort of prowess. Can we trust it? So my feeling is that what we can trust is when we see people. And what we're doing right now, you're seeing me, I'm seeing you. For the time being, this is real, right? Because that on the virtual side of things may change as well. Yeah. We discussed that during our event, how we may be having agents instead of ourselves talking virtually.
Which is crazy.
It is mind-blowing. When Jeremiah Owyang said that, I was like, what? Like everybody in the chat started blowing up. Like, you could see that. Like he was saying, in the future, we want to attend events, we'll send an agent on our behalf, as we're doing note-taking right now. So see that on steroids. And I feel that in person, though, that remains the ultimate experience. You can't fake that. You can't trick people. Like you have to show up. If you use ChatGPT extensively, it's going to show at the first conversation you have with a customer. Because like, what can you do? Can you use ChatGPT on the go with someone? Not right now, at least. So that human interaction.
I mean, you could learn a few scripts really good, I suppose.
Like you have a earpiece and like have recommendations, maybe, if we really have to be paranoid about the future. But like what I'm trying to say here is that in-person events become sort of the most authentic, human-friendly type of interaction across the marketing spectrum. Media, we don't trust anymore. A lot of people don't trust media anymore since a while ago. Internet was the solution to that. With AI, we're not going to trust whatever happens on the internet anymore. there. And
Yeah.
so what's left is us humans. And so I feel events become sort of the platform for reality when we have to drop all the BS and show up as we are. And that's what people are going to, I feel, especially in our B2, I operate in a B2B environment. That's when you do business based on that. You're not going to do business based on some random information and you find the time of like finding some article and then sending your info for a demo and closing business based of that. I think it's going to go away very, very soon. And at that stage, only high touch, event driven type of action is going to be interesting. I'm going to be publishing tomorrow my LinkedIn for the people who are listening to this. You can catch up, go back to my LinkedIn profile, an event led go to market framework for companies that sort of want to put events at the core of their endeavors and how they operate, because that's, I feel, the future of go to market strategy for a lot of companies.
So basically going back to like shaking hands the old school way, how we used to do when we were closing deals, which is going to go back to that, being authentic and being in person and being yourself and not pretending to be using whatever platform to generate whatever smart response, right? I mean, I know I kind of use my plugins to respond to some of the emails that I have no desire to like use any brain cells.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You're more than welcome to do it. I think no judgment there. Low
Especially
involvement.
spam emails, it's like so annoying when you
Do
can
you
just
respond to
say
spam
no.
You're too nice. You shouldn't respond to
I think
that.
I'm too nice. I should
Yeah,
leave it.
just
I should
report
ignore
a
it.
spam. I feel that, that's sort of mind-boggling. Let me add the element for your audience here to think about. Because I see all the enthusiasts of AI, the over tech people, if you spend a lot of time online, you will find a lot of people that are enthusiastic about tech and the tech sphere and how things work in technology. You will find also the in-person zealots and those that say, this is never going to happen. This is not going to have an impact. When I mentioned the agents on LinkedIn, there was I was having a conversation with someone that you must be crazy to think this is ever going to happen. And I was like, funny enough, I had the same exact conversation in 2008 on this same group in LinkedIn that I started when I said, listen, hashtags are going to be a thing for events. Keep that in mind. People were like, no, this is never going to happen. Maybe the type of events you crazy people attend, but not us. Not us, the smart people. And all of a sudden, every event is named after hashtags today. So just to say that sometimes things don't happen. Sometimes things don't materialize.
I mean, we're still waiting for those flying cars, right?
Right. And maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time they come. And what I'm trying to say here is also that we got to be open to them in terms of mentality to what could happen. But we also have to remember that during the pandemic, we also already had a shot at this. We also had a shot at faking things. We also had a shot at saying in-person is going to go away forever. And there's been a big narrative that has been completely forgotten from a lot of people that were saying events are dying. And this is the nail in the coffin of events. Right. So I don't forget that. And people that were saying, this is the Napster moment of events and people that were saying this is going to go away. Listen, I was I don't think so. I think they're going to come back. And this is exactly what is happening. So the more we tend to make things tech, the more we go back to our human nature. And so keep that in mind with AI as well. This is not going to be any difference, I feel. Now, new generations grown during COVID, anything can happen in 20 years' time, right? I'm not going to go that far away.
Absolutely. I mean, I must say, though, I feel like we have to take this with a grain of salt, but at the same time, keep that perfect blend of technology, creativity, and realism as to, what might be happening. But you have to keep technology at the forefront and you have to be in tune with what's happening. You cannot just let it be something like, well, I don't touch this because I don't understand, and then wake up 5 years later and not understand anything at all and have no chance at catching up because it's been way too advanced to what I used to know or you used to know. So speaking of that, let's dive a little bit deeper into this magic of AI for events. And with your extensive experience experience working, especially with those fastest growing tech companies that you mentioned and you're onboarding as you speak. I'm sure that you've uncovered some AI tools that are creating waves in your life, in your practices, in your processes, and not just in the event industry as a whole. So I would love to hear from you if you'd want to share which of the technologies that you've noticed happening as of late are game changers and what makes them maybe stand out in the crowd.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So yeah, I spent quite some time reviewing a lot of tools. I'm a purist of ChatGPT, so I try to understand more how to use that. Because eventually, like what you see out in the wild for these tools is an application of what ChatGPT could do, one shape or form of GPT, the model, right? Not ChatGPT, but rather the model behind it, right? Because I know the AI people start to get mad if you start saying ChatGPT. Yeah, I have a lot of fights online. You'll be amused. So what I'm excited about. So I feel the latest implementation that ChatGPT launched, the code interpreter, that's the game changer for me. Like since they launched that, I was waiting for something like that for a long time because the biggest problem from my perspective has been submit a lot of information to ChatGPT to get a response based on that information, right? It's always been limited because the number of characters that you could send to them and the ability for ChatGPT to remember multiple chats and act upon those was very limited. And so if you wanted like feedback on an article, a very long article, for example, that you were working on, it was difficult because you had to submit it in chunks and then
lose the essence.
Exactly. And then the ability from the model to remember all of the different steps wasn't there. So code interpreter, what it does, it gives you the ability to upload documents, PDFs, docs. And so all of a sudden you're able to feed an incredible amount of data to ChatGPT and get some proper responses. And that's mind blowing. I feel there's still limits in terms of like how they can expand it. But like if they expand it, I can't even think of the application. I'm still like, sometimes it scares me, like how much you can do with it. Like, because it's like literally substituting $150, $200 an hour type of consultant. So we're not talking about the operational stuff. I'm talking people that I pay to work with me to do certain things that are super detailed. I can get very close to that. I can get super close to that. And that's scary because like eventually I'm the one to go next. For sure. I see it. Like unless you think like strategically on how to leverage it and you constantly find that angle that is going to be interesting for the market, the way it's growing, it's mesmerizing, it's scary and exciting at the same time. So to go back to that, so think about the applications for your event. You can feed hundreds of feedback forms from your event. There's companies that do that today. So they do it and they take all the feedback forms and they create a nice presentation for you with the top topic. That's their service. That's what they do. Gone, not needed anymore.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm still a big advocate of opening each and every single feedback form for an event. And I usually do that with my clients because you can still find nuances and like very important details that, machine model can sort of forget. But like getting a sense of the key topics and where your event is, like, this is information is mostly wasted in most cases. Like you look at the NPS score, that's it, and you move on, right? So this is like game changer. Let's think of the extra application of this on call. So think about if I have my own version of ChatGPT where I can feed a ton of information and that model can start to learn about my event, what I do, the history of it, who attends. And so I just work with that implementation and I keep on feeding data to it. And then eventually I can get essentially everything back. I can suggest the best venue for the next one, suggest the best speakers to speak to this specific target, suggest the best sessions that are going to have an impact, give me the breakdown of what the speakers need to talk about, give me, I don't know, the marketing channels that are going to resonate more with their audience, write the actual 10 updates for these people and pass them through this editorial checklist so that they respect my inputs. I can tell them to go and look at all of our social media and content activities we've ever done for the events industry with all the data for my event specifically, with all the data I've collected, and say, based on that data, tell me what type of format of content and what I need to write that is most effective with my audience. I mean, that's crazy. Like,
That's
to think about
fascinating.
something like that, it just blows my mind. This is what I do for a
Absolutely.
lot of my clients. We do it manually for the
And I
time.
feel like now the role of an event planner or event producer, it takes actually a totally different type of skill set. Like you're becoming a analyst in so many ways. You have to have the ability to maybe know a little bit of machine learning. It's not just, oh, pick a venue, get interesting menu, find some speakers and take care of those logistics. It's more, so much more than that. And that can certainly be intimidating for a lot of event planners. And that's why, they're looking at this new trend, hoping it goes away. Obviously, that's not going to happen. How will it impact the event industry? We already see it, but I think we're nowhere close to fully understanding. And there's this fear of like, oh my goodness, like what's going to happen to my job security, future? Like, what if I don't understand it? What if I can't keep up? What all the what ifs, right? I mean, obviously the game changer to the experience makers is another completely different topic, because the AI's impact on the in-person events has already been nothing but short of revolutionary. And we're just scratching the surface. We're nowhere close to the actual ability, what could happen, because we ourselves were not necessarily in step with how fast the technology is moving.
Let me give you an example of how this is like starting to happen around us. So I'm working with an event I'm involved with on the ownership level in Europe. And, we're pitching it to a number of like high caliber sponsors in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of sponsorship. So we're thinking about unique sessions ideas, and the client came to us and say, this is our idea. This is like coming from ChatGPT, right? So they're very open, right? This is what it is. Or like, yeah, I mean, as a team, we have some of the best creative minds. This is a creator-driven type of event. So some of the best minds in terms of creativity. Eventually, we're using one of the ideas they're submitting through ChatGPT because it's like so spot on, that idea, that we're like, literally we came up with many alternatives, but no idea was as good as that one. That's scary because like you think you're like, oh yeah, but they're never going to match me.
We have all these creative minds, right, at the table.
Yeah, especially if it's creativity, you're like,
Yeah.
oh no, this is not going to happen. And then, actually use right. It's getting there. It's getting there very fast. So either you work out, as you said, I think you're being too gentle. I think like a word of advice, and I'm being very strong about this pre-pandemic when I was telling people, listen, people, you got to understand about technology and what it's happening around it. Like now you take it as a given that you kind of have to understand virtual events, like, you're a tech, you're a woman in technology, in AV, but like even 7 years ago, right? Very different environment, right? Not normal to understand all the data points, virtual events. And I was like, okay, we need to get ready because at the next crisis, whatever it's going to be, those who have technology knowledge are going to be way more advantaged. This is exactly what happened with the pandemic. Those that at least got it, at least understood it, they could immediately, pivot.
Deploy it. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
The others had to catch up for months, for years sometimes.
Yeah. Or just give up altogether, like raise their hands in the air.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this. Like I'm going to go find something else to do.
They left the industry. We lost a lot of people that said, listen, I don't want to have nothing to do with this. That's it. I'll go into real estate and start selling houses.
Yeah.
That's what has happened, unfortunately. Now, the good thing about AI, the message has to be clear. Like a lot of us, especially if you're like in the mid-level type of implementation driven, look around yourself and start to learn these tools, because your ability to use them strategically, it's going to be key in some levels. And the good thing, like the uptake for this, is that you can ask AI on how to use AI. So this is like, nobody gets this. Like they feel they have to go and read and learn and attend as many events. No, like you can be within the AI. And literally this came out during the event that we did last week, where we had the second part of the event. We had a founder of Snack Prompt, which is a big sort of repository where you can post your prompt and like you can reward creators of prompts, prompt engineers that create their prompts, their recipes for prompts. And so you're saying like the actual best best tip that I have for you to use ChatGPT is to actually ask ChatGPT, what should I do next? How should I do this? How should I ask you that? And like, you'd be amazed at how AI sort of teaches you how to do things and how to use AI. So mind blowing.
Well, here's one example, practical example. I have certain prompts that I create within my own ChatGPT profile, that GPT-4, and it's learned my voice because I specifically prompted it through content and through previous blog posts and a lot of things that I fed it to learn my style, my voice, my wittiness, my, snarkiness, like the way I talk. Like if I were to talk as a robot, how would that sound, right? So now that I have fed it all this information, whenever I prompted to give me something, like for example, hey, give me some smart questions to ask Julius, because I don't want to embarrass myself, right?
Yeah.
It would ask it in my voice. It would ask it with my own influence or my own maybe particular understanding of the concept and add some extra, right? So that's what's super interesting to me, the fact that you can teach it to be whatever it needs it to be, but you have to spend some time to do it. Like a little tiny toddler, you're not going to send grocery shopping. You're going to teach it first how to put on the shoes, how to, I don't know, like here's the keys. Okay, don't drive the car. But you know what I mean? It's like there's little steps that you got to do prior to like sending it to the wild and be like, okay, good luck now,
There's two very important elements that you're saying here that I think I need to echo them with your audience, right? One is like the teaching aspect, like, the training part. And these models are going to get very sophisticated in the short term. Like we're not talking years, we're talking months.
Yeah.
In terms of like remembering and keeping the information in so they get as custom as possible to you. Think about the TikTok algorithm and how it knows exactly what to suggest to you next. And it's addictive. So that level of customization is what it's next in these models. They are still kind of need our input for now. In the future, this is going to be completely automated. The risk, though, on the other end, is to over rely on the tool. Right? Especially right now. And this, you as a, I'm sure the audience is familiar. You as a natural bodybuilder, it's like going pharma in bodybuilding, it's easy. It's easier.
Easy, but there's definitely going to be a price to pay for sure.
Exactly. And the price to pay is that I'm seeing a lot of people that clearly have substituted their LinkedIn voice with this, their emails.
I can tell. Julius, I can tell when somebody uses ChatGPT because I've used it enough in the last 7 months to tell when somebody's not even trained it to sound like
exactly
like you, like the person
emojis.
that you are.
It's upsetting. Like I feel some people out there, they're destroying their careers. I literally got an email from someone that, I don't know, give it a pirate theme somehow. And like he was reaching out to me and saying, hey, comrade. I'm like, what is happening here? And now like when you go on LinkedIn, now you have the recommendation at the bottom to test AI and say like, you want to talk about this and that, and you generate a post from it. Wow, this is amazing for me because I feel like I've tested it on my posts. Whenever I've used ChatGPT in some shape or form, the post has performed less than when I use my own voice. My true, unfiltered mistakes, grammar mistake fill. Grammar mistake I don't do because like I correct grammars with other AI tools that just look at the grammar. But like, that sort of raw.
The specific influence of your own voice, that I totally get it. And honestly, I can tell that when you read a post that I think it was today's post or yesterday's, where you had a list of event planner worthy cringing scenarios.
Today, the 12 ways to trigger an event planner, right?
Exactly. So like if you think about that, that's something that you yourself as an experienced event professional have walked through and experienced. You know what it's like. A ChatGPT, at least right now, I don't see it being able to actually generate that type of response.
No, it can't. I used it. So I used
exactly.
Let me be open on how I created that post. And I'll create most of my posts on LinkedIn. I went to ChatGPT and I was like, tell me some ideas that make event planners cringe. And
probably came up with some weird, like 5.
It was like valuable ideas. I'm not saying they were good, but like they were like, whatever.
Yeah, no. Like
you read them, you read them and they make sense to you, but they're not stimulating any type of emotional response.
Yeah.
So maybe I could have trained it better. But then I did
Or
some
you
research.
can use it as a starting point. As like,
I can
okay,
use that
I
as a
get what
starting
you're
point. It's like, okay, how
going.
can I change that and make it resonant? So yeah, sometimes I did generate, especially if you're creating content every day, multiple times a day. Like you need, like sometimes like you need a kick. Like what would you do in the past? You would go to Google and search. I still went to Google and opened like 4 or 5 articles that were talking about different things. And it specifically made it my point not to cover any of the things that these articles would cover.
Yeah.
Right? This is how I think. And so I went there and said, like, hey, these are going to be ones that we all agree on. And probably I read in some comments in the past months of some people, but like, I'm going to try to sort of make my mind work and sort of try to interpret what the community feels. That's how I come out about it. And that's the only way you're able to make your voice heard. So I think preserving your voice right now, it's so important. Like, using the tools strategically to help you out, but also be faster, right? You can get a hamburger made in Montana with like the most selected prime beef, bison, they literally like ate like the best possible grass fed with forks and spoons to them.
I'm surprised you're not making an espresso analogy.
Right? Or you can get fast food, right? And you can go to fast food chain and get your fixed burger. Now, I'm not going to say that the fast food doesn't have a place. I think it has a place. Hey, it has a place when you're in the go, it's fast, it's like you're moving, you need to get stuff done. For sure it has a place, right? If you ask me as an Italian, I'm relieved when I find Starbucks, abroad, because I know I'm going to get some decent level of coffee. I'm going to stop this madness of like absence of a good espresso. We're in a country that is like espresso unfriendly, and there's many countries like that. So, you know what I mean? Like it has a purpose, but like, the prime beef that you're going to get in Montana, cooked on a lava stone and made with like, that burger. That's what we're aiming for. Because if we're aiming for the fast food every day, well, that's not going to be good.
I mean, how much of that can you eat before you get sick or, you're just tired of it and be like, yeah, no, I'm good with that. Well, let's get our conversation from bison meat and espressos.
Well, it always ends up with espressos.
I know the espresso has to be. I mean, the fact that you're all about espresso and events, you have to be Italian or something. But let's talk about how obviously the AI is transforming the landscape of in-person gatherings and is creating unforgettable experiences for our attendees. How did we do that in a way? Or maybe do you have some examples that you've seen it done just in the last few events that maybe you've attended or you've worked with clients to plan in ways that we can practically look at it as something that it's truthfully transforming the experience for the attendee participant?
Yeah. So we have some barriers to entry for AI right now, at least at the time of speaking. I have to specify that. It's like, then people are going to take snippets of this interview and say, is this you? Like in 10 years time, that usually happens to me. So I have to be very careful with the words that I use. I feel right now there's some barriers to entry because of the nature of events and how they've been laid out technologically in terms of infrastructure. Mm-hmm. I want to make it boring for your audience, but we have to realize that it is a problem that every event is a silo of data, right? And whenever you plan an event, you like to think, even if it's not the case in most cases, that you own the data of your attendees, right? And by meaning of that, it becomes very difficult for machine learning models to create the ultimate value for events, which would be by far the networking piece. So the networking piece is the one that is ripe for disruption here. It's the one we have to take an eye on because it's the one that constantly fails. So like the fact we understand the power of ChatGPT immediately, it's also corresponding to the fact that we have to be clear with the fact that all the startups that said that they did AI matchmaking before, it's a bunch of BS. Because what was AI about it? What is ChatGPT level about it, if you ask me? Nothing.
Yeah, probably just some matchmaking. Yeah, exactly. This person is from Idaho. They might be okay with someone from another place in Idaho.
So I love these people to death. They're my crew, the event tech people, the CEOs of these companies. I've spent so much time talking to them. And like in some cases, they told me, yes, it's marketing BS. We have to be honest. Like some honest cases, they told me. as it is. In some others, they said, no, it's literally AI and whatever. But I saw the limitation because I went in depth into this topic. This is what I do so that, I can give you the short answer of it. But I went very in depth. I spent time with like a machine learning professor at a university in California, sort of top, that people look up to. And they told me like, it's impossible with the way that data is siloed to create meaningful recommendations. Because like you need millions of data points. Even in LinkedIn, if you think about it, you look at like the recommendations on LinkedIn, it's some kind of like average. They're not like great recommendations like, I should really connect with this person or whatever. They still try to sell you the sales navigator so you can go in and spy on people and see the hidden data so you can actually find meaningful people. So you see how twisted that is. Not an easy one to fix, this one in general, but it's the one that where, it wasn't easy to create amazing articles just with a prompt. And now it is. So, I want to see what happens with that. I want to be able to go to SaaStr, where I'm going in September, SaaStr event, big technology event. I want to know the top 3 people I need to meet. That's it. You need to match me to them without me spending hours answering questions or the organizer matchmaking them manually or whatever. That needs to be automated. I need to have very personal custom recommendations. Maybe I can pay for it. Maybe you can like match us a Tinder so that we swipe and approve, whatever, do it. That's what we want. So that's in terms of customizing the experience, that's the most difficult. The easiest one that needs to happen today is like, I'm not going to scroll through the agenda. Julius Solaris, here, Google me, right? Where should I go? What should I attend? What is the sessions that I need to be at? Tell me. That can be done today. I don't need to input crazy things. You know the content, you have the tags, tell me what should I attend. And that's important, like to have on point, important information on the go that matters to us. That's where AI can be implemented today.
I love that we put our tech savvy hats on and we're kind of diving into the nitty gritty of, how there's limitations with AI. You're right, because the Achilles heel, even ChatGPT and all the other models that they're, Brad AI and all the other AIs that are trying to keep up, and Apple came up with their own version of AI. It's the data consolidation. Like there is no data centralization of place where you can get all of it so you can get the best output like you mentioned. So talking about all of that in a way that makes sense, because yes, we love event tech and AI tools, but at the end of the day, it's all about practicability. Like how can businesses, how can event organizers leverage AI to save precious money and time? Yeah. That's the question at the end of the day, right? I mean, time is money, as they say. So let's figure out what are some ways in which we can leverage what we have, what we know currently, to save some money. And the time that we mentioned a little bit, we touch on, there is ways to save time. So any other input on that?
I feel that one of the ones I'm most excited about because it's so time consuming. I'm sure you could agree with this as a video creator, whatever, there's a bunch of content that gets generated at events, right? So the editing of that content.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Sizzle reels.
See, I got you. So that's that's what it is,
so
right?
Much work. Yeah.
So that's immediately evident in terms of polishing that content, making it recording, friendly, and, eliminate all the housekeeping, all the stuff that you don't need, and repackaging it so you can sell it later, or you can use it for marketing. And so create smaller packages of content, highlights, reels, and, TikToks and the likes. That's more of a marketing opportunity that you have. And so there's tools that are getting better today. So we're still not there 100%. The idea is that you feed a video, raw video, and the system comes up with 5 already created short videos with subtitles ready to publish on Instagram. The reality is we're not there yet, at least to my editorial standards. So I feel like we're still working on it. Some tools are getting better. I'm seeing some people saying, oh no, this is like great, I use it all the time. So there's definitely opportunities, like they're getting it to that level. That's going to be one of the biggest contribution, because it has a lot to do with the future business model of events, which is strongly content driven. We have to realize that selling tickets and sponsorship, yes, but not enough.
Yeah.
Because attendance is going down at events. People don't realize this. So there's constant research saying that attendance is going down. It's like there's a ton of events happening all over the place. Overall, the industry is doing amazing. Some type of events are doing incredibly well. relatively to some verticals, the attendance numbers are not looking good, but event planners are still able to make money, raising prices, doing, all those tweaks. But on the long term, that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, because there's so many other events that are certainly suffering and they're seeing the decline, as you just mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So time is money, and we also have to replenish our thirsty selves. So for that, before we move any further with our eye-opening discussion about AI, let's just take a short moment to thank our sponsor, and we will be right back. Before we move any further, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our main sponsor, Trifan Events, which is a boutique event planning and production agency that will come alongside you, offering personalized event planning and technical support, strategic event design, production and technology management, and flawless execution for live, virtual, and hybrid events. The team at Trifan Events is passionate about planning and producing event experiences that get people involved with true moments of interaction, engagement, and co-creation, while offering white glove treatment throughout the entire planning process, enabling you to reach your event goals with the use of creativity, production tools, and event technology. To find out how Trifan Events can plan and produce your event become memorable, go to trifanevents.com. Welcome back, dear listeners. If you're just joining us, well, guess what? We have the incredible Julius Solaris with us today. He's sharing his thoughts on how the future is AI. Well, Julius, before the break, you shared some really fascinating insights on how AI is shaping the event industry, whether we like it or not, whether we're ready for it or not. And you're absolutely right. It's an absolute game changer, from content curation to personalized design elements and even agenda optimization. AI has opened so many possibilities. Now, as we explore this cutting edge innovation, let's address a topic that's close to every event professional's heart: finding that perfect balance between embracing AI's wonders and preserving the human touch that makes events so special. So with your expertise in both technology and in-person events and virtual events, how do you navigate this delicate dance to ensure that our events remain truly memorable and engaging experiences?
So I feel that we need to go back to the same conversation we were having earlier, which is understanding when do you need the tool, when you need to stop, and when you need to kind of like start thinking about what the tool has fed you and act upon it, right? You can go back to the tool at later stages, but like that needs to be an order in which you stop the tool, you enter with your mind, and then potentially you go back to the tool if you need a further iteration of it. But that movement has to be so clear. So which means to create memorable experiences, as you mentioned, it's important to understand that AI can help us. For example, we made the example of Code Interpreter to analyze feedback from previous events. And so what would, our attendees see at the next iteration? What didn't work so well? Now, to ask for the solutions to these problems to ChatGPT could be a good starting point, but like not a conclusive and exhaustive. I would then spend my time with my team thinking, how do we fix these issues? What is the priorities of these issues? So giving priority to all of these issues and understand as a team is like, how is ChatGPT determine the priority of that? Maybe 100 people, is it just numerical? Maybe there's just one person that is saying something very important that matters to the full sponsorship implementation of your event, and that means millions of dollars. Or there's like one comment that is about security of your event, so you can screw up the whole implementation of the event. So what I'm saying is that at some stage, you have to have your critical thinking ready to step in and prove against common sense, against your experience, against your understanding of the event, what has been fed to you. Potentially come up with a list of ideas on how to fix those issues and feed it back to ChatGPT, asking them, for example, how would you make this even better? How would you, have you ever other angles to recommend? Have I not considered anything? So you can sort of start jamming with the tool in a sense and like go do this back and forth. But the final say has to be yours as well, because sometimes there's a gut feeling that enters the room. A lot of professional event planners, you will find that, yes, they have the processes, they have their Excel spreadsheets, but if we're talking about the top of the top, the event strategists that had teams of hundreds of people, they're not consulted for their executional job. They're consulted for their gut feeling, for their direction on things. They know what the priority is. And so when we start going up in the levels, I feel that's the items we need to preserve.
And that gut feeling, it's important to know and remember that it's built upon years and years of experience. It's going to take a while before we can reach that level of AI prompting where it's going to be based on I'm just hypothetically saying that one day it's going to happen, because I feel like it's going to be obviously a curveball where right now we're all embracing it, but eventually it's just going to tame down a little bit and be like, okay, that wasn't that great. Maybe we should use our smarts again and think strategically and use our experience that built all these events up to this point. One thing is for sure, although AI offers such an immense potential, it's not necessarily the magic wand, right? And I'm sure that a lot of our listeners, they're also curious about maybe some of the challenges that come with incorporating AI into events. And you touched on it just briefly. I'm curious if you have any more insights on those challenges and maybe some common misconceptions about how AI is being used or how is to be used that you might want to address.
So as a content purist, I have to make this remark. I feel one of the biggest misconceptions we have right now is to sort of essentially pass the content generation of the agenda generation, the session description to ChatGPT. So that's scary. That's scary to me because, content is the product of our events. Content is literally why a lot of people show up to the event. There's the networking part, of course, there's the entertainment part. The content is still a huge part of why people attend in-person events. And so to give all of this, what is literally our client-facing product to ChatGPT, almost like when I see it completely delegated to that, well, that's scary to me, because what is the thinking? Is it just we're trying to find excuses to get the people there, to justify them in the room? And so we're throwing whatever content we can. We know, unfortunately, that 90%, that's my gut feeling after reviewing hundreds, thousands of events through my career, is that content is the most sort of overlooked item in events. So yes, once you've got your keynote, kind of like the agenda is a mix of pay for play and, whoever we got to speak that we're not going to pay. So, that tells a lot about how we're solving from the wrong issues. And then we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on getting centerpieces and mini burgers. But we're forgetting the whole reason why people show up to our event. So we're solving for the wrong issue all the time. And this is this over-reliance on ChatGPT and the likes to shape all of our products is just a further sort of nail in the coffin of a lot of events that honestly, how is that going to improve the event? If you're not ideating, if you're not really thinking about your personas, if you're not creating a strategic narrative for your event, and you're guiding your attendees through different iterations, tracks of content that are meaningful and resonate with your audience. Again, you can use the tool to help you come up with good ideas, right? But you cannot delegate to that the whole communication. The words that you use for your sessions are so important. They're literally de-marketing. They are the product marketing that you do. So I'm a bit concerned about that over reliance there. That's a common misconception, jump that I've seen from everybody to go and start writing immediately all these sessions and all this marketing. I don't know. I don't feel it.
Do you feel like it's a lack of resources, or is it straight up laziness? It's something that we haven't done well before, so now we just have a tool that's going to do it for us. So just delegate as here's ChatGPT. Come up with 5 different topics for day one of this conference.
Yeah, I think it's a mentality shift that needs to happen. There's no easy question to this. It's not black and white, right? I think content has been mistreated as an element of events for years. So this is not something that is starting now. Mostly because there's also a logistic superiority in events. So it's almost like the logistics take over everything. And don't get me wrong, they do. I'm not suggesting that logistics are not important. By all means, there's individual security and safety. So, you don't mess up with those. But if we're over concerned with that, I feel there's a big bunch of the industry that it's too concerned with the looks and the design and all of that, and not as much concerned with the substance of why we attend events. I feel that's changing. I feel, especially with content creators coming in, taking ownership of their own event programs, the amount of time that they spend on creating sessions, like virtual events, in-person events, you'll see that there's going to be so much quality coming in at you all the time. They're going to hit you with so much actionable advice. They're going to select the speakers in the best possible way. So there's always that attention. For some other events, it's always been about the brand, and it's been about getting the right people in the room. And so it's not as much as a priority to them anymore, because whatever they do, people are going to show up anyway. Now that's going to change.
Yeah.
They're not going to show up anyway anymore, because they want to get something out of it, especially if they're taking time for traveling. And that's becoming impossible. If you think about it, even if you lose a second, you made the example of being in Canada and losing data, right? And not being able to access an event. How frustrating is that experience? You lost 20 minutes, an hour? That's a lot. That's a lot.
3G is not the same as 5G. Let's just say that.
Imagine I'm going to CMA, this event in Salt Lake City, first week of August, and it's 3 days. It's a Sunday that I have to be away from my family, a Monday and a Tuesday. That's a big ask. So you better show up and deliver. They do an amazing job at doing that all the time. But what I'm trying to say is that the bar is really high. If you get me to go out and spend $1,500 to come to your event, and you're not delivering the top content experience, the best speakers in the room, and the most amazing relevant connections that I can find, I'm not going to bother. I'm going to go somewhere else where I know I can get that.
I mean, you can back me and I still won't come, because you're right. I don't know how your experience has been as of late, but even the travel delays, the flight delays, it's been so much more increasing lately. And I'm not sure if it's a byproduct of, people that were lost during COVID or resources lost or whatever it is. But I have not yet flown anywhere else without having some type of a delay, which was not the case before.
No.
So when you start taking that into consideration, aside from the element of being gone for so long away from family and away from your comfort zone, right? You're I don't know if I really want to put up with this. I don't know if I want to go, especially in the context of you presented, that the content is not going to be top notch as you expect they would be. So I guess as we turn our attention to the future and explore how AI is obviously shaping the event industry, but is also shaping the attendee event experience in the years to come, how do you foresee the future of the attendee event experience evolving? Are there any emerging trends or technologies that you believe would revolutionize the way events are organized and experienced? If you have a glimpse into what that might look like, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, for sure. You use the keyword there. The experience element is going to be more important than ever. I feel content itself is going to evolve into more of a functional part of overall experiences that we're living. It looks like every event is turning into big activations of sorts, in multiple activations. I'm sure you see this firsthand since you participate in some of the top events as a producer. So you see how these are turning there's an activation for everything. Sponsors don't want to do content anymore. All of a sudden, they want to do activation areas for social media. And so that evolution is under our eyes, right? Especially as we don't forget our digital personas while we're there. And so we're looking for opportunities to create excitement for our followers, our community at large. So events are transitioning more in that direction. And so content plays a role in that. It's a very important role, but it's changing as well. An hour long keynote is a big ask. Can't stay there for that long. And so it's getting shorter. And the type of sessions are getting more action driven, more interaction driven, because I can't get that when I'm at home by myself. So it's replacing the office dynamics for a lot of people that are still working from home today. So there's a lot of that. So experience driven across the board. Whenever you can create these experiences, people are there, even speakers to a certain extent. I've seen how big name keynotes that I've seen lately in the room, you see these people that at the beginning of the sessions, they're all up with their phone, taking a picture, sometimes taking a picture, a selfie with the speaker in the back, and then disconnecting for the whole session, as they don't care about what they're saying. Because listen, I have
I
way
got my
better
picture.
podcast. I have 3.5 hours of the same speaker on Joe Rogan or Huberman Lab, and I can just catch up with that. I don't need to listen to the 60-minute version of it or the 20-minute version of it, which is going to be kind of like basic version. So you know what I mean? Like the content superiority of online is always going to be there because like you're going to be editing. There's no frenzy. But there's still some value to live. I think there's value to that. Sometimes it's also like for some people, you're actually thinking about what's being said for those that are able to concentrate and like disconnect from their mobile devices. Like you're actually, when you're in person, you're evaluating things more. And so that has a role, that has an importance. Where are all these things going? Listen, this is the redefinition of the events industry we're talking about right now. The events industry has been the same for 50, 60 years. And it's like the past 3 years has been out of control, like completely changed everything. So, I think we're like rebuilding what events look like. We still don't know if we're in this win back from the pandemic or if this is going to stay. We don't know. Like realistically, how long this travel mania is going to keep on going, right? It's like the problem is that in summer, as you said, traveling during summer, it's crazy. It's like there's the personal and the business together. It goes out of control. And the demand, it's not even tamed by inflation. And so this is uncharted territory for a lot of us that have been analyzing the industry forever. Everything we know, every time I may try to make a prediction, there's something happening in the next 3 months that changes everything again. So, we were expecting a depression of in-person events with the inflation going up. Literally we had costs going up 70%, 80% in some cases. And still, the demand is like out of control. So that doesn't happen. So all the measures and the tools that I've used in the past, throw it in the garbage because like we're living, day by day.
Talking about keeping us on our tiptoes, because right? Like we thought that was the case just because it's COVID and 2020 was crazy. And then 2021, we never are we going back? No, we're not. Do we have vaccines? No, we don't. And then 2022 was a little bit of like, okay, we're getting the feel of this.
Right.
Like we can see the future, we can see the whatever light at the end of the tunnel. Now we're like back to like roller coaster ride all over again.
It's ridiculous. And last thing, if you think about the billions of dollars invested in virtual event platforms, it's not like these people are stupid and they wake up one day and decide to throw money at whatever comes. There's the component of that, but not across the board.
Yeah.
Not everybody in these
not everybody's an opportunist.
Everybody's like the NFT, Web3 tokens type of let's make money type of people. There's some of that for sure. But the virtual roller coaster, the way it's going down, the way some companies are being sold, right now in the next few weeks at the valuations that they had and that they have today. It's unbelievable. So it's something that we've never seen ever. I just want to contextualize this. If you got in the industry for in the past 3 years, 2 years, oh my God, you're in a different world. And the beauty of it is also what is it going to come up out of these people that just got enrolled in the industry during the pandemic, right? We don't know what the industry they're shaping is going to look like.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. I feel like we could definitely take this direction into a different chapter just to try to analyze what's happening, where are we going, and what are some of maybe trends that we could rely on. But that just the idea of that, it's insane to begin with because there's nothing. We're still trying to figure it out. So I guess as we're coming to an end here, Julius, before we bid adieu, I must say, the middle of this craziness, one thing that I always go back to is our capacity to take on this type of roller coaster ride. And that goes back to our own wellness, to our own mental and physical fitness, goes back to being able to take care of ourselves. Events, they will be, but us as humans behind those events, event professionals behind those events, there's only one of each, each one of us, right? So we kind of sort of have to look at this as how do we maintain this one machine, this one person, this one Julius that exists, and how do we make sure that he can stay up to this fast-paced, dynamic nature that the event industry has become? How do you manage to thrive and excel while maintaining your mental and physical well-being in this craziness?
This is the challenge today. The challenge because I work with clients and I want to be inspired by my clients, but I see a lot of the same mistakes that I make in them. Unfortunately, it seems like it's very tough one to crack. When you're like hustling, when you're out there, when you're planning events, like you chose a specific type of living. It's almost a call, right? It's almost like, how do you deal as a teacher with like 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds screaming at you all day, right? It's a calling, right? It's a, how do you deal with that? You can be a yogi and be as detached from it, but at some stage you got to get in. You got to go action mode. And I see it in all my clients I work with. Amazing people, very top performers in their categories, but like you have so much, like, they write at 3 a.m. in the morning and I reply at 6 a.m. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it goes, unfortunately. And then, so can you let it go forever? You can't. Like, that's realistic. You got to be realistic with the fact that it's going to catch up with you at some stage. And so I try to, get my workout in every day, try to carve out the time to do it. Try to eat clean and stay, healthy and eat to the best of my ability and keep that in control, stay with my family and spend time with them as much as I can. Understanding there's times where it's almost impossible because, everything is crazy. And there's some other times when it's totally possible and you have to make an effort for it. That's how it is. We do our best, but it's also the path that we chose for us. So got to be aware of it, aware that it can bite back in a big way. I've seen a lot of people that are unable to get back in the industry because they come with there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of what happened during the pandemic. There's a lot of burnout. So there's a lot of that it's completely untouched. Very few people are talking about it in the depth when we need to talk about it, because this is not just about Adam Grant, do some mental health type of thing. This requires deep work. Yeah. Right. This requires like deep introspection. And so I feel that the mental piece for everybody should be, I come from a family of therapists, so I know very well how important it is from people to get them mental health and kind of like be on top of it as you do for your fitness,
absolutely.
Same thing. And this is not just something that you can read in an article, watch in a video. This is actual work you need to do on yourself proactively.
Yeah. And to be aware that, you need to start somewhere and it's not going to be, some type of a easy fix. It will take some time. Well, Julius, thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge, especially from your experience in events. And it's really inspiring to have someone like you talk with passion and still be in it, after so many years.
I'm not going anywhere else.
How did you not burn out? The question is.
I did a little bit. Trust me. There's been times where I was like, oh my God. I was like looking at my screen. I was like, the eyes were just turning. So, I haven't been immune from it, but I'm back. I'm back with a vengeance for sure. So
with renewed energy, I can tell. So it's definitely so inspiring and so many takeaways from today's episode. I'm so excited that we got to have this conversation, especially in the middle of a crazy day. We were just talking about it like before we press record, how it's just been one thing after another. And it's just Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday.
No, I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe it's Tuesday. Tell me it's like something else.
I know, it feels like Friday for some reason, but at the time of the recording, it's a Tuesday. This episode will air on a Friday. Most likely it's going to be September 1st, actually. So I'm excited about. So that's it. I mean, everybody that's, listen all the way to the end, I'm thankful for you. It's been definitely a journey through this enchanting world of AI in events with our own visionary Julius Solaris.
Thank you, Anka. And let me say thank you so much for all you do for the industry, for your passion. We need more inspiring women like you talking not only about the beauty of events, but also the technical side, technology side, the production side. It's so refreshing to see that energy coming from women that is usually being destined to men somehow, but like to see all the energy and the power being floating in the industry is so great. So keep crushing it. Big fan of Tree Fan. I'll see you on another event around the world. We usually meet randomly. Like, you're here? Yeah, it usually is.
Well, thank you so much, Julius. I appreciate your kind words. And I think it's important to be a voice for the good things that are happening in the industry, but also, like you said, a voice of warning and of an authentic voice of the challenges that, we all face. Because let's be honest, it's not just unicorns and butterflies, right?
Not at all.
So with all of that, this is it for today's episode. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you all. I would say just stay tuned to what's happening. Subscribe to the Events Demystified podcast for more enlightening discussions with upcoming industry experts. And this is Uncut Refund signing off. Stay curious, stay inspired, and stay healthy. Thank you, Julius. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Events Demystified podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to review it, rate it, and share it with other event professionals that could benefit from it. Connect with us on social at Events Demystified Podcast. We would love to hear from you and what you're up to. If you'd like to learn more about Tree Fan Event services and find out if we're a good fit in supporting your event, can we help your event be successful with a 20-minute free consultation? Link in the episode's notes. Thanks for tuning in.